Would you look at that one? She looks better all wrapped up than the rest of them do unwrapped.
Her looks were so stunning that she was dubbed the most beautiful woman in the world. Smoldering sensuality, with an exotic accent to match.
If I can't see Paris when I open my eyes in the morning, I want to go right back to sleep.
Even her name, Hedy Lamarr, sounded dark and mysterious. But although she shared the screen with Hollywood legends like Clark Gable,
Goodbye, stranger.
Okay, stranger.
Spencer Tracy,
George, now you're not going to sit in that hotel room all alone, are you? Why don't you go to a movie?
They've all got happy endings.
even Jimmy Stewart.
Well, I guess that takes care of the formalities.
People rarely remember Hedy's talent. Most remember only that face.
The boys abroad during the Second World War voted her the most desirable pinup that they could possibly see. So she had a great deal of fame and fortune, but not that inner satisfaction that she wanted in life.
Richard Rhodes is best known for his Pulitzer Prize-winning work on the making of the atomic bomb. But turns out his most recent book about Hedy Lamarr is just as explosive. So what got a science writer interested in a half-forgotten celebrity? Well, quite simply, these.
Is this the actual patent?
These are two of the drawings from the patent, yeah.
This was Hedy's other side, the intellectual side. And had it turned out, might have been the blueprint for success far beyond Hollywood.
What was the one thing that surprised you the most, you think, during the course of putting this together?
The sheer inventiveness of the invention.
That invention, this maze of wires and switches, is Hedy's idea for a secret communication system, specifically one that could guide a torpedo using technology called frequency hopping, so that signal couldn't be intercepted.
The first question is, what? A Hollywood star? What was she doing inventing some piece of electrical engineering?
I mean, this wasn't the ShamWow. This was like a pretty sophisticated thing.
It was.
Have you ever seen eyes like that? So full of love for you?
Her life reads like a Hollywood script. The glamorous movie star by day was by night the lonely immigrant, channeling her inner Thomas Edison.
She set aside one room in her home, had a drafting table installed with the proper lighting and the proper tools, had a whole wall in the room of engineering reference books, and invented.
It was a hobby that remained obscured in the shadow of her celebrity, one she rarely revealed, even to her own son.
She was such a creative person. I mean, non-stop solution finding. If you talked about a problem, she had a solution. And I'm sure Hedy was doing it with him.
Looking back, Anthony Loder, the product of the third of Hedy's 6 marriages, says his mother's tinkering just may have been an escape.
She wanted to stop all the Hollywood stuff, which she didn't really enjoy.
Most of Hedy's inventions, including a better Kleenex box and a different kind of traffic signal, never really went anywhere. But her idea for that radio-controlled torpedo got a patent. It was 1940. German U-boats were wreaking havoc in the Atlantic, torpedoing ships, very often with women and children aboard, trying to flee the Nazis, something Hedy knew a little about. Born Hedwig Kiesler to Jewish parents in Austria, Hedy had married a wealthy arms manufacturer named Fritz Mandl. She spent many an evening absorbing his musings of top-secret weapon systems. But with both the war and the Nazis approaching, Hedy decided to flee her homeland and her marriage, and booked passage to Hollywood aboard the Normandy, a ship she knew was carrying a very famous passenger, movie mogul Louis B. Mayer. She was already a name in the industry. Hedy had become infamous for her racy performance in the foreign film Ecstasy. Not only was she nude, but this close-up of Hedy's face in the precise moment of rapture, as one critic tastefully put it, was considered nothing short of pornography. But Louis B. Mayer liked what he saw.
By the end of the voyage, she had arranged with him a contract of $600 a week, which would be $3,000 today, with the proviso that she learn English, which she pretty quickly did.
Temper, temper. You don't want to get lines under those beautiful eyes.
You fool!
Her career took off, but the war in Europe was never far from her mind. And a chance dinner party with a Hollywood composer named George Antheil changed everything. Like her, Antheil tinkered with ideas. He was famous for composing an avant-garde symphony using unconventional instruments, not the least of which were more than a dozen player pianos, all synchronized.
And that gave the two of them an idea. If pianos could be synchronized to hop from one note to another, then why couldn't radio frequencies that were steering a torpedo hop as well?
Hedy's idea was if you could make both the transmitter and the receiver simultaneously jump from frequency to frequency, then someone trying to jam the signal wouldn't know where it was.
This was a viable idea. This would have worked.
Indeed, it would have worked.
So what happened?
When the Navy brass looked at the invention, they said, "What, you want to put a player piano in a torpedo? That won't work."
So they weren't impressed at all.
So they threw it on the back shelf. The Navy's response really was, you should go raise money for the war. That's what you should be doing instead of this silly inventing.
What about it, Hedy?
So Hedy did precisely that, using her celebrity to raise millions in war bonds, dismissed again for her brains in favor of her beauty.
I think we all know. Girl in the world. Hedy Lamarr.
Hedy Lamarr, right?
As time went on, she tried television, but it never really fit, and her star slowly faded. But she watched in silence as other frequency-hopping inventors took the technology to heights Hedy never could have imagined.
Today, frequency hopping is used with the wireless phones that we have in our homes, GPS, most military communications. It's very widely used.
But Hedy had quietly signed her patent over to the Navy and just left it at that.
I mean, she gave the technology away. It seemed to her the very...
Never made a dime off it.
No. It seemed to her the very least they could do was pat her on the head and give her some acknowledgement.
More than 50 years after her original patent, Hedy did finally get some acknowledgement, even a few awards. But she didn't show up to accept them. By then, botched plastic surgery had left her mostly a recluse.
She lost her looks, she lost her confidence, she lost her value, she lost her worth.
Hedy Lamarr died alone in Florida at the age of 86. Her obituaries began with what everyone already knew, her beauty, but generally made only glancing references to that invention, the one she hoped would have showed the world that her mind was beautiful too.